In the next part of the lecture, I shall be discussing about how to classify the cases and how to do the treatment. So, I am directly coming to this very clumsy slide, but this is a summary slide and you need to know that here there are three types of things that are given. Firstly, the case definitions are given. Number two, the types of case are given. Number three, the treatment outcome are given. So, case definition can be microbiologically confirmed TB and clinically diagnosed TB case. In each of these, type of case may be new case or previously treated case. Previously treated will include recurrent TB cases, treatment after failure, treatment after loss to follow-up, and other previously treated patients. So, microbiologically confirmed TB can be new case, microbiologically confirmed TB can be previously treated case. Similarly, clinically diagnosed TB case can be new case, etc. For each of these groups of patients, treatment outcomes can be cured, treatment completed, failure, failure to respond, loss to follow-up, not evaluated, treatment regimen changed, or died. So there is no loose and lax definitions. Definitions are very strict. Let us come to the definitions one by one. Firstly, coming to microbiologically confirmed TB. Microbiologically confirmed TB refers to a presumptive TB case from whom a biological specimen is positive for acid flush bacilli, or positive for Mycobacterium tuberculosis on culture, or positive for tuberculosis through rapid diagnostic molecular test. So it has to be a microbiological confirmation by either AFP, by culture, or by some rapid test like CBNAT. On the other hand, a clinically diagnosed TB refers to a presumptive TB case who is not microbiologically confirmed but has been diagnosed with active TB by a clinician on the basis of X-ray anomalies, histopathology, or clinical signs, with a decision to treat with the patient with a full course of anti-TB treatment. So this is the important point. The clinicians have been left with a lot of latitude. They can decide among themselves whether they will say a patient is clinical TB or not, but they will have to give a full course of treatment to that patient. Besides, there can be also, in case definition, extrapulmonary TB. What is extrapulmonary TB? Extrapulmonary TB is any microbiologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed case of TB involving organs other than lungs, that is pleura, lymph nodes, intestine, joint and bones, etc. Miliary TB is classified as PTB because there are lesions in the lungs. A patient with both pulmonary and extrapulmonary TB should be classified as a PTB. So there has to be either microbiological or clinical confirmation of the TB involving organs other than lungs. Okay. Now, regarding the type of case, or we can say that this is the classification based on history of previous TB treatment. This is very important because you have to elicit this, and according to this only you will start the treatment of a patient. So what are the types of cases? Firstly, there can be a new case. A patient who had never had a treatment of TB or has taken anti-TB drugs for less than 1 month is considered as a new TB patient. So the patient has to take anti-TB drug for less than 1 month, or he had never had a treatment for TB. Next group is previously treated patient. A patient who had a previous treatment of TB for at least 1 month is known as a previously treated patient. Now it has got the following types. Firstly, there can be a recurrent TB patient. A TB patient previously declared as successfully treated, cured, or treatment completed, and is again found to be microbiologically confirmed TB is a recurrent patient. So he was told as treatment completed or cured, as successfully treated, and has again found to be microbiologically having TB. Treatment after failure are patients who have previously been treated for TB and whose treatment failed at the end of their most recent course of treatment. See, this is different from recurrent TB because in recurrent TB he was declared as successfully treated, and then after that he has come to be positive. But in this case, in the course of his recent treatment, he has been marked as treatment failed. That is, maybe from a sputum negative he has been sputum positive, or he is continuing his sputum positive status. Treatment after loss to follow-up means a TB patient previously treated for TB for 1 month or more and was declared lost to follow-up in their most recent course of treatment and subsequently found to be microbiologically confirmed TB. So suppose a patient has taken treatment for 2 months, then he has gone somewhere, then in another place he was again captured, and here he has been found to be microbiologically confirmed TB. Only then you can say that this patient is treatment after loss to follow-up. There are several other kinds of cases which may arise, and they will be all classified under a broad group known as other previously treated patient. There can be also something known as transfer in and transfer out, like from one tube to another, but these are operational definitions, so you do not need to worry about that. Now I am coming to the treatment outcome definitions. Firstly, remember two things: that if a patient is microbiologically confirmed TB, then the outcome will be successful, outcome will be cured. So he is microbiologically confirmed TB at the beginning of treatment, and at the end of treatment he is either smear or culture negative. So he will be termed as cured. Only a microbiologically confirmed TB will have this facility. But in other cases, like a TB patient who has completed treatment without evidence of failure or clinical deterioration, but no record to show that the smear or culture results of biological specimen in the last month of treatment was negative, either because the test was not done or because result is unavailable. He may be lost to follow-up. There can be some other issues for which the test was not done. So whatever was the case, at the end of the treatment he was not microbiologically confirmed to be clear of TB, and in that case we shall say that he is treatment completed. So a microbiologically confirmed patient who has completed treatment with negative smears at the end of intensive phase but known as at the end of treatment, the outcome is declared as treatment completed. Also a clinically diagnosed patient. So here we have not done microbiological confirmation. A clinically diagnosed patient who has received full course of treatment is also called as a treatment completed patient. So who is a failure patient? A TB patient whose biological specimen is positive by smear or culture at the end of treatment. So after the end of treatment, if the smear or culture is still positive, he is termed as a failure patient. The other definitions you can go through yourself only, but these are the definitions you have to keep in mind. So now we come to the most important part, that is the diagnostic algorithm for drug sensitive TB. So it starts with the presumptive TB patient whom you send for collection of sputum and the result has come. You will do a chest X-ray concomitantly with the smear examination. So there can be the following cases that may arise: smear positive and chest X-ray suggestive of TB. So in that case he is a microbiologically confirmed TB. There can be cases where smear is positive but CXL is not suggestive of TB. So in that case, even in that case, we shall tell that he is a microbiologically confirmed TB. Next, if smear is negative but CXR is suggestive of TB, so here you will again have to do CBNAT because you want to confirm microbiologically. Also, if smear is negative and CXR is not suggestive of TB but clinical suspicion is high, then also you have to go for CBNAT. So with CBNAT, again either MTB can be detected. If MTB is detected, CBNAT also gives the result of rifampicin resistance. So if MTB is detected and he is found to be rifampicin sensitive, he will say that he is microbiologically confirmed TB. If MTB is detected and he is rifampicin intermediate, then CBNAT is repeated on the second sample. Even in the second sample, if it is indeterminate, then LPA is to be done. I mentioned about line probe assay, LPA is to be done. And if it comes to rifampicin resistant, then we shall refer him to management of rifampicin resistant TB. That goes into the DRTB protocol. The other case may be MTB not detected or CBNAT result not available after doing a CBNAT. Then we shall consider alternate diagnosis and refer to a specialist. The specialist may say that it is a clinically diagnosed TB. You already know it can be done, or some alternate diagnosis can also be made. So this algorithm is very important. Now I have already discussed about the presumptive definition of an extrapulmonary TB. So you all know that. I am not repeating that again. This is the diagnostic algorithm for extrapulmonary TB. So presumptive EPTB patient, we have to collect appropriate specimen from site, like pleural fluid can be collected, like biopsy can be collected in case of TB lymph node, etc. If appropriate specimen is available, then we will try to do a CBNAT. If CBNAT MTB is detected, then again the same thing is there, rifampicin sensitive, intermediate or resistant. And if MTB is not detected and if there is high clinical suspicion, then we can say that it is a clinically suspected TB. But if CBNAT cannot be done on the sample, okay, so we can do a liquid culture. If culture is positive, we say is microbiologically confirmed EPTB. If culture is negative, we can say it is no TB. But if we have got a high clinical suspicion, then we can use other diagnostic tools and we can mark the patient as a clinically diagnosed TB. Now about pediatric TB. Regarding pediatric TB, I want to mention a few points. Firstly, I did not discuss about the presumptive symptoms of a pediatric TB, which I will be discussing soon. Also, regarding the choice of test of pediatric TB, there is a very complicated issue. The children cannot expectorate sputum, so for pediatric TB often techniques like bronchoalveolar lavage has to be done for getting adequate sample. Also CBNAT has to be done because these samples there can be lesser number of bacterial counts. In pediatric TB, skin test can be done with 2 TU of PPD RT23 for all diagnostic purpose. Mantoux test with induration of 10 mm or more is positive. With HIV co-infected cases, 5 mm may be taken as the cutoff. There is no role of inconsistent diagnostics like serology in pediatric TB cases or IGRA also. As for chest X-ray may be, if available within 7 days, may be used. High suggestive of chest X-ray refers to sciogram showing either miliary or lymphadenopathy. Now let us come to the flowchart of pediatric TB. So the presumptive symptoms of pediatric TB are persistent fever for more than 2 weeks without a known cause, and or unremitting cough for more than 2 weeks, and or weight loss of 5% in 3 months or no weight gain in the past 3 months, or history of contact. So these are the presumptive symptoms of pediatric TB, presumptive cases of pediatric TB. We will start with the chest X-ray. If chest X-ray is highly suggestive, try to do an expectorate sputum by gastric lavage for CBNAT. If CBNAT is positive, it is a microbiologically confirmed TB. CBNAT is negative, skin test is positive. If there is no other likely alternative diagnosis, it is a clinically diagnosed TB case. If CBNAT is negative and skin test is also negative, alternate causes can be looked for. Now the chest X-ray may be the shadows are normal, but skin test shows positivity. A course of antibiotic can be given. The symptoms and the shadow persist. Again, go for CBNAT. CBNAT is positive. There is microbiologically confirmed TB. CBNAT and skin test are both negative. Refer to an expert workup for persistent pneumonia. If CXR is normal and skin test is positive, then evaluate for EPTB and refer to an expert. If CXR is normal and skin test is negative, look for alternative causes. So I am ending this lecture of diagnosis of TB here. I shall be continuing with the treatment part in the later lectures.